And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have two of my good brothers and sisters here in the temple. We have the man behind the Wanderer's Library, good brother Sig.
Ghosts of Starlight Eve is happening this Sunday, folks. Hope to see you there.
I will certainly be there.
You should be. You're one of my players.
Yep.
Same.
I'll certainly be there, and of course, right after that, Zan and I will be looking at adapting Final Fantasy VI. Get your suplexing the train jokes on standby. I know you got them. Let's get the obvious stuff. Let's get the low-hanging fruit out of the way. Oh, who am I kidding? That fruit's on the ground and rotting.
Especially the stuff with the Doom trains toot.
Yeah.
I just figured that we just take a picture.
Do not toot it, fool. Doom toots as he please.
Exactly. I'm glad you got that reference.
I enjoy. I don't know why, but my favorite versions of Doctor Doom are always when he is ridiculously petty about him being better than everyone else, especially better than Reed Richards.
Do you ever see the comic with him and Conan?
I think so. Are we talking in the old Savage Sword of Conan?
I think I remember seeing it somewhere on X. I just forget where.
But the point is that a character like Doom believes he's better than you for no other reason than he's Doom. And hello there, Professor Penn. I see you in the YouTube chat. Welcome to the party. So,
hello, Professor Penn.
Last time around, we covered the combat end of things with Draw Steel, even though a large amount of combat we already accounted for both early on in this series and most definitely while we were going through the classes.
Oh, yeah. And that was a fun time.
Mm-hmm. So, apparently, some of the response to the Troubadour is to call its rule set odd. I'm like, the Troubadour is the main character. I don't see what is odd about that. It's as much as the main character as the narrator in A Bard's Tale, especially the Xbox version.
Troubadour just seems like a whole lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, how many times have we seen a storyteller character in fiction telling a story, and half of the story is true and half of it is complete bullshit?
That's part of my shtick, sir.
I mean, yeah.
I think I just outed myself.
Plus,
yeah, it happens.
I've stated that my favorite bard character in video games, at least until his second attempt, where they completely fumbled the bag, was Varric Tethras. Specifically, his appearance in Dragon Age 2.
Now that I have not yet explored. That's on the list, though.
Yeah. I'm well aware of Dragon Age 2's problems and the fact that it was fully made in less time than it takes to conceive a human child. They say it was a year and a half in development, but in reality, the real development work was less than 9 months. But regardless, for this one, we're going to be covering the final bits of Book 1 Heroes for this series. When we come back to this next week, we won't be using the Heroes book. We'll be briefly covering the Monsters book and then giving our final thoughts. But I think we know where it's going to be, but humor me.
Been a hell of a ride.
Mhm. When it comes
Fun ride.
to the final bits here, there are three elements which are in the title that we're going to be covering: negotiation, projects, and rewards. Now, projects we lampshaded several times with a put a pin in this throughout this series, because it was referenced multiple times through different perks as well as different class features. But we start with negotiation, and let me get one joke out of the way. Cast in the name of God, ye not guilty. Seriously, nobody? Or am I just being sandbagged?
I wouldn't go that far.
Been a long day.
I would have figured at least one of you was familiar with Big O.
I mean, I am, but very, very, very little of it. I don't remember too much.
No.
Now, we are obviously opening up with negotiation. I do like the image of the heroes having to negotiate with a demoness. And them opening with negotiation gives the heroes a chance to get what they want without combat, or at least without further combat. And obviously, after going into what negotiation is, we have when to negotiate, basically when to use it and when not to use it. Typically, you're not going to use it with mooks. You're going to be using this with important NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to make persuasive arguments. Do it or we kill you is a threat that might accompany a single might test. But it's not a negotiating tactic.
What is this, SMT?
Yes.
Oh, I covered that earlier this year. Both of them.
Fair.
And yes, within the SMT RPG, there is a whole tree for its negotiation system. As well as rules for demon fusion, which is crunchy, but there is no way to avoid that.
Yeah, unfortunately, especially with something like SMT.
Now, they did highlight this in bold, but negotiation is not a process that changes an NPC's character.
Mm-mm.
Rather, it's about showing that an NPC could behave differently and still be in character. You might get the loyal lieutenant of an evil boss to reconsider the error of their ways. That's a classic dramatic trope. But even then, you're not changing their character. You're convincing them that their evil ways are out of character.
Yeah, you're just, trading one very bad atrocity for another.
I mean, that's how our players in my campaign quite literally were able to get one of the bad guys on their side because they were like, "Are you sure that this is you?" And he was the same character one way or the other. He just was like, "Nah, I'm on your side now."
Yep. But during negotiation, there are a set of temporary stats that are set up. The first of these is interest, which measures how eager they are to make a deal with the heroes. This is on a scale from 0, no interest, to 5, the most possible interest. When negotiation begins, a NPC's interest is between 1 and 4. If it goes to 5, they make a final offer and negotiation ends. If it drops to 0, they end a negotiation without offering the heroes any deal. This increases and decreases during the negotiation based on arguments the heroes make. Then we have patience, which represents how much time and effort they're willing to devote to a negotiation. This is, again, graded on a scale of 0 to 5. Each NPC starting a negotiation has their patience higher than 0. If it reaches 0, They make a final offer and negotiation ends again, and it can increase or decrease. It can be affected by shared languages, obviously. And then the third stat we have is motivations. Each NPC has at least 2 motivations the heroes can appeal to with their arguments. Arguments that appeal to a motivation require an easier power roll to increase interest. Arguments that don't appeal to a motivation require a more difficult power roll, which that'll go into when we get to making arguments. Each motivation can be appealed to only once during a negotiation. To successfully appeal to a negotiation, you must use the motivation in an argument without mentioning one of the NPC's pitfalls or being caught in a lie. Pitfalls are motivations that spark ire, discomfort, shame, fear, or some other negative response. Using a pitfall in an argument causes an NPC's interest and patience to wane. Each one has at least 1 pitfall. Some of them will have 2. Pitfalls and motivations are 2 sides of the same concept. They are presented in a single list because what might be a motivation for one NPC is a pitfall for another. And then we have a list of negotiations and pitfalls. Though fortunately not that big of a list, it's 12 of them. Each one has a few examples of what could be an argument that ties to that motivation and or pitfall. So the ones we have are benevolence, discovery, freedom, greed, higher authority, justice, legacy, peace, power, revelry, protection, and vengeance. I am glad that they're in these categories because this is something I could see easily getting out of hand with analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
See also the aspect system in Fate. I know I bring that up a lot, but it's a perfect example of something that you shouldn't do. The reason why Fate is my whipping boy with this is just about anything can be an aspect, but Fate doesn't do the best job of establishing where the line is between a good and a bad aspect. An example of a of this being done properly is the one unique thing in 13th Age, where there's a 2-page, and I haven't checked 2nd edition yet, so I'm not sure if this is still in there, but in 1st edition there was a 2-page spread that went into a few examples of good one unique things and where the line is, specifically on what a one unique thing is supposed to be and what it's not supposed to be. The general guideline is if a one unique thing is adding additional mechanics, it is crossing the threshold. It is more meant to be a narrative thing, more than anything else. But then we get to opening a negotiation, where the PCs are asking something of an NPC, and the director decides, okay, this is a negotiation. First off, if it's in the middle of combat, you stop combat. Second off, you have a starting set of stats based on the starting attitude. So, for example, if they're hostile and barely willing to listen, they have an interest of 1 and a patience of 2. And Hemov goes, those trade federations are cowards. Negotiations will be brief. Technically speaking, the negotiations were brief. And technically speaking, they were cowards because they tried gassing them,
Yep.
which didn't work.
Well, you were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short.
I remember having the novelization of Episode 1, and there was a running thing that Qui-Gon hates battle humor.
I could see that. I read a lot of the different books that were like from different characters' points of view from episode 1, because I kind of like when I was younger, I really liked it. I was like 13, but like I read a lot of the things about Qui-Gon and like a lot of the Jedi Academy things about Qui-Gon, and it 100% makes sense. It also makes sense as to why Obi-Wan would have done battle humor, is because he was a rebel. So,
which is probably why Qui-Gon was interested in him.
it was the one I read was when they became Padawan and Master, and it was a very funny and pretty good book. So I'll have to find it.
Yeah, but if they're suspicious, then we have an interest of 2 and a patience of 2. If they're neutral, it's 2 and 3. If they're open to listen, it's 3 and 3. If they're friendly, it's 3 and 4. And if they're trusting, it's 3 and 5. I like that we have these starting stats set up because this is another thing that I could see a bunch of debates about where the line is. Here we have at least a baseline for where things are supposed to go. Since the way interest and patience work, it's clear that they're meant to be flexible. Like they're not hard and fast stats. They're context based.
I was about to say these seem more like they're for in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Then we get to uncovering motivations. Now, which does give me the implication that you're not supposed to know an NPC's motivations right out of the gate. Now, if they're not forthcoming with the motivations, or if you want to learn one of either a motivation or pitfall, a hero can make a reason, intuition, or presence test while interacting. So at tier 1, you learn no information regarding motivations or pitfalls, and the NPC realizes the hero is trying to read them on the matter, so their patience goes down by 1. At tier 2, you get no information about motivation or pitfalls, but you don't suffer a patience loss. At tier 3, you learn one of the motivations or pitfalls, your choice. I almost said loves Matt's examples on interest and patience, especially the no and one. I'll probably get to that in a minute. Of course, then we have a thing on making arguments. I do like that they point out arguments need a justification as to why they're true. Because that's the thing. If the NPC gets any ideas that you're lying to them, that's going to blow up in your face, much like, a real argument would. But if you haven't appealed to a motivation, you can make that attempt. This is either a reason, intuition, or presence check. At tier 1, the NPC's patience decreases by 1. At tier 2, their interest increases by 1, and their patience decreases by 1. At tier 3, their interest increases by 1, and their patience doesn't change. At the director's discretion, you may have it that a well-reasoned enough argument automatically counts as a tier 3 outcome without a test. I like that was put in. So if somebody makes a really, really compelling argument, you don't have to force them to roll. And we do have a sidebar about appealing to multiple motivations. Which is going to be a up to the director thing. There's also, if it doesn't include one of the motivations or pitfalls, but the argument is still made, you can make a more difficult test. At tier 1, patience goes down by 1 and interest goes down by 1. At tier 2, patience goes down by 1. At tier 3, interest goes up by 1 and patience goes down by 1. Unless you roll a natural 19 or 20, in which case patience is unchanged. And if you try to use the same argument without a pitfall or motivation twice, the test automatically gets a tier 1 outcome. So don't try and beg the question, as it were. And of course, if you get caught in a lie, the interest automatically goes down by 1. But as well as the fact that if you used one of their pitfalls, the thing automatically fails and their patience and interest goes down by 1. But then we have the matter of renown. Basically how your reputation might make a negotiation easier. During a negotiation, an NPC has an impression score that determines the amount of renown needed to influence them with fame alone. We'll get to renown later when we get to rewards. This matters only if the NPC knows of the heroes. A dragon who's been asleep for the last 100 years and just woke up to negotiate can't be influenced by your renown. Did they put in? By the way, it's a terrible idea to wake a dragon, even if they do know you're famous.
It's fine. It's only a flesh wound.
He's not wrong, for you are crunchy and taste good with ketchup. Besides, anyone who's played Shadowrun knows one of the cardinal rules. Never cut a deal with a dragon.
Pretty sure that's a cardinal rule for almost anything at this point.
But the higher an NPC's impression score, the harder they are to influence with renown. A small timer who's got a lower impression score than is going to have a lower impression score than a monarch who meets with powerful and famous people all the time. And it is going to be up to the director whether the hero is famous or infamous. I like that they made it up a director call, because if they had 2 different tracks for fame and infamy, that could result in a lot of arguments about what counts where, and it's ultimately contextual. You know, like the way one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist kind of thing.
It's like the light and dark and like SWOTOR, because I remember one of the things was very clearly felt like it'd be dark side, but it was like you click on it and you're like, why did I just get 100 light side points for doing this thing that's very clearly dark?
Yeah. And that lesson would not be learned in future games, as we saw with Mass Effect. I mean, they tried to get away from that with the open palm closed fist in Jade Empire. But despite explaining that they're not light and dark, they practically are in practice.
Light side Sith. It's hilarious. Just play it. That's all I gotta say. It's light
Depends
side
on if
Sith.
you're the Inquisitor or the warrior.
Yeah, because if you play a light side Sith sorcerer, you have the best lines. Especially if you're a male. It's the best lines.
But we do have a few example impressions going from 1 to 12. Impression 1 is something like a brigand leader or a commoner or a shop owner. Impression 12 is a deity or a titan. If a hero is famous to an NPC, they gain an edge on tests when making arguments to which the flirt, lead, or persuade skill could be applied. If they're infamous, they gain an edge on tests when using the brag, interrogate, or intimidate skill. And even if you don't have the appropriate skill, you still gain the edge. Which means that even if you aren't the skill monkey, you can still participate. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the response and offer, which is based on interest. And I think this is what Amov was alluding to earlier. So interest 5 is yes and, interest 4 is yes, interest 3 is yes but, 2 is no but, 1 is no, and 0 is no and. And if an NPC still has patience after making an offer and their interest is between 1 and 4, you can attempt to make another argument in an attempt to improve the deal. Alternatively, you can accept the offer and end the negotiation. If the NPC's patience is 0 or their interest is 5, then the offer that is made is the final offer to the characters.
Final answer?
Well, it's a D. Final answer.
Oh, no, given the subject matter, I feel like the better joke would be deal or no deal.
Because we had to bring Howie Mandel into this.
Yeah. And it could be worse. I could bring in modern day Howard Stern.
Oh, don't even get started with that.
Let's not and say we didn't.
I can agree with that.
But either way, if the NPC's interest is 0, then negotiation's over. And then we have a sample example of a negotiation. So before we get into downtime projects, what do you think of the negotiation system as we see it?
It's very different. Like I said, I feel like it's more for those in the moment scenarios where a narrative would be most favorable in a campaign, but I wouldn't use it a whole lot.
I mean, I know we brought it up like a couple times at this point, but it really does feel like SMT. To me, at least. I play SMT a lot. I play Persona, SMT, all of the things, but SMT specifically, and it really feels like, oh, I am talking to the pixie and I chose, flirt instead of smack, and she desired pain for some reason, and now she doesn't have any interest in, that kind of thing. It kind of, to me, it feels that way, but
That could be the brain rot talking.
eh, could be that, whatever you want to think on it.
Oh. I'd say that depending on how adept somebody is at making their arguments, the big thing that I'd advise against if someone was doing negotiating, don't put all the weight on the party's skill monkey or the face man. Fortunately, because of the fact that the checks use either reason, intuition, or presence, I don't think you're going to have as much of an issue of the dedicated face man problem. Although, if you've got a troubadour in here, he's pretty much going to be doing these kind of negotiations.
Especially if it's a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like I'm being called out right now.
Well, if the boot fits,
I mean, you did play a bard in my first campaign that I've ever ran, Tab, so.
Okay, like, talk about negotiation. I legitimately negotiated with a demon lord and was like, how about not? And he was like, you know what? I agree with that. How about not? Let's go.
that's not a denial.
I play so many charismatic characters in general, it's ridiculous when it comes to me being able to convince people of things. So I accept that.
Um,
It's my whole
and,
job.
anyway, then we have downtime projects. Incidentally, I'm glad that I've been seeing more downtime mechanics in games just in general over the last few years. I think I first saw
Yeah.
a major push for downtime mechanics right around the time of Fantasycraft and Spycraft, specifically Spycraft 2.0, because I ended up getting both of them at the same time. Uh, I won't say at the same time, but within the same month. And they served as a significant influence. Not Spycraft 1.0, it didn't fully reach its potential at that point. Plus, it was still well within the D20 bubble. You know, that time period from 2000 to 2005 I've talked about.
Mhm.
Well, Spycraft 2.0 hasn't been touched in quite a while, and Crafty seems to be more interested in making board games than making RPGs these days. Which is a shame because I never got Spellbound. There was a magic-themed expansion for Fantasycraft that was in the works. I have some of the preview materials. We never got the full thing.
That is a shame.
But anyway, downtime projects. Basically, what to do with your free time when you're not out adventuring. And starting a downtime project is done during a respite. You can do as many projects as you like, or start as many as you like, but you can't work on more than one project at a time during a respite. Eventually, you'll have to hire creatures who can work on additional downtime projects for you. You can track project progress on your character sheet. As you work on a downtime project, you might look over old books that you found in your travels, perform experiments, converse with experts and scholars, or work with tools to create something. So, a project has certain prerequisites. Many of them will have an item prerequisite, i.e. you need one or more special items in order to start the project, i.e. you can't build an airship without having a wind crystal or a wind crystal of contestants, which is a key component, or a prerequisite that involves certain activities during the process. A project source, so you need to have access to a specific lore detailing how the project is to be undertaken. This can be written information, a expert tutor with wisdom to share, a master artisan with skills to teach, a supernatural manifestation of the project's scope and secrets, or any other form based on the director's choice. This project-focused lore is a project's source. So not only do you need those sources to start a project, but you also need access to those sources whenever you make a project roll for it. We'll get to that in a minute. Some sources are easy to find. Building a castle doesn't require tomes filled with ancient lore, after all. But it's also not something every stonemason knows how to do. However, the location of the Tomb of Assyria, the mummified protector of 100 slumbering sorcerer sovereigns, might exist only in a single tome that requires an accompanying adventure to unearth.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you are adventurers, so do adventuring things.
Exactly.
I like the downtime projects because it gives the it allows the DM to not have to, or the GM rather, to like have to. It just kind of allows them more time to think about other things rather than being like, oh well, they're going to be on this ship for 30 days. What am I going to have them do? Or, that kind of thing. So it kind of like giving actual ideas is very handy because then you're like allowing more time for other things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And some people can't think of things on their own, so.
Quite. Now, as a respite activity, you make a project roll for one of your own projects. Alternatively, you can make one to contribute to another hero's project. A project roll is a test with a special outcome that isn't divided into tiers. The characteristic used in the test is determined by the project. When you make a project roll, the total, no matter how low, becomes project points that are accrued by the project. Even if you have a penalty on a project roll, the minimum is always 1. If you obtain a critical success, a natural 19 or 20 on a project roll, this is called a breakthrough, and you can make another project roll for the same project as part of the same respite activity. Okay, so exploding dice. It is complete when it accrues project points equal to or greater than its project goal. The number of points it takes to complete the project noted in the description. As you work on a downtime project, the director can add events that help form the narrative of your research, crafting, or other activities. These events might provide unexpected benefits or challenges as you work on your project, or make the journey dramatic as arriving at the destination. But since project rolls don't use success tiers, they don't follow the rules for double edges or double bane. If you get an edge on a project roll, you add 2, like you would normally. If you have a double edge, you add 4. And the opposite for bane and double bane. Pretty simple, and since it's about getting to a certain number, it makes sense.
So, risk reward.
Mm-hmm.
You don't completely fail, but you won't overly succeed either, unless, of course, you get the crits.
Yep. You can apply skills from the crafting or lore skill groups if they're applicable to the project.
And judging from the sheer amount of skills we saw earlier, that can be pretty often, of course, depending on the class you choose.
Mm-hmm. Which guides can sometimes help.
I mean, it worked for Oogie, the honorary dwarf.
Yep.
He learned dwarven crafting, even if he wasn't very good at it.
Yep. But a guide has its knowledge value as project points towards a given project. And after that's done, they can't be used with that specific instance of the project again, though they could be used for a different project of the same type. Which is definitely nice. But then we have project events, which are story events to present boons and challenges to heroes as they complete research and crafting projects. These events are optional. As far as when to use them, they don't need to be used every time. In fact, I think the game discourages using them every project roll. But you could roll for an event, i.e., roll a d6. On a 6, an event occurs. On the other hand, if you want to have them at certain parts of a downtime project, you can use the milestone approach. When a project accrues a certain number of points, an event occurs the next time a hero wants to make a project roll. And the amount of times it's done depends on the points that you need for that project. If it's 30 or less, don't do it. If it's 31 to 200, one event halfway. If it's 201 to 999, 2 events at 1/3 and 2/3 of the way. And if it's 1,000 or more, 3 events at a quarter, half, and 3/4 of the way. Of course, you could just throw one in whatever you want if you prefer. But even with that, I get the vibe that the game does not want you to put in project events every single time someone makes a roll.
I do it either on a breakthrough, and this is just me personally. I do it either on a breakthrough or when the player reaches a specific milestone of points.
Mm-hmm. Now, a project event occurs when a project roll is made. You can roll for or choose an event from the events and prompts table, or use the tables to inspire your own events. Each entry is a narrative prompt for the director. If an event would grant an automatic breakthrough, the project just gains 20 project points and you make another roll. So you do have the option of auto-critting. But then we have a few examples of different projects, starting with crafting. The first one is building an airship, which has a goal of 3,000. You need a wind crystal of quintessence. You need text or lower and low Rivian. Characteristics are might, reason, or presence, and again, you need 3,000 points in total. So building an airship is not something you're doing overnight.
No, that's going to take months, maybe even years.
Mm-hmm. And then we have building or repairing a road. The goal for it varies depending on the size of the road and if you're repairing an existing road or building a brand new one. We also have an event table that's on a D10 roll. Then we have crafting a teleportation platform, which is self-explanatory. It's not as expensive. It's not as high as making an airship, but I think the real cost is going to be in getting the prerequisite and source. You can also craft a treasure, find a cure for a disease, imbue a treasure with magic or psychic power, and through that we have different enchantments that can be done with it. So even building your magic items can be a project. And fortunately, enchantments, they're not going to be high up on project goals. Like a first level armor enchantment is only 150 as far as its goal. But even if there's a low goal, I feel like the cost is going to be getting, again, prerequisite and source.
Yeah. And materials too.
Mm-hmm.
If it is that specific.
There's also the fact that for the higher enchantments, you need a previous enchantment. So you can't, even if you're at 9th level, you can't just build a 9th level enchantment right out of the gate. You need a 1st and 5th. But I can say that this is a easier and more efficient method of magic item creation than say 3E's version. Dear God, that was terrible. Who the hell thought giving XP cost to magic item creation was a good idea?
I don't know. Sounds like something the OSR would do.
Yeah, it was a dumb thing and resulted in some very dumb memes. But I do like that we have a chart for each of the enchantments, or rather enhancements. I don't know why I called it enchantments. And the source language is different depending on which one you're going for, as well as a prerequisite. Again, I like that there's the right amount of specificity with the materials you need for this kind of thing. It's just enough to give an idea of what sort of adventuring you should be doing, but it isn't excessively specific. You know, it isn't like the specificity of some magic components that we've seen in some games. Although some of them are going to be particularly nuts. Even so, each of the enchantments only has a goal of 150. So again, the project roll, that's going to be the easy part. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to do that in one session.
Mm-hmm. I would say it'd take a few sessions, maybe more.
But then we have research projects, which first one we have is discovering lore, which the lore that you're looking for depends on the table. If it's common knowledge, 15. They're going to be able to do that in one session. If it's forbidden knowledge, it's 240.
And that's great old one shit right there.
Yeah, common knowledge you can discover with a day or so of research. Obscure knowledge is known by specialized sages. Lost knowledge is esoteric enough that even if field's most dedicated scholars, there might only be one or two individuals who've dug enough to know it. Forbidden knowledge is powerful enough that an individual or organization is trying to keep it secret. And of course, the characteristic for it is reason. I'd imagine if somebody's trying to go for forbidden knowledge and doing that amount of time delving into it, it's going to get attention. And fortunately for these sort of things, we do have a nice big old table for events to use for crafting and research projects. And hey, give those gnomes a hand.
Whose hand is that, by the way?
It looks like a full-on automaton's hand. So handy.
We better keep going, otherwise these jokes will never end.
We also have go undercover.
We just got to get a handle on it. It's fine.
For fuck.
Anyway, we have go
I'm
undercover.
sorry, I'll just give him a hand.
As a potential one, which has a very low goal, but has its own particular complications. Namely, the fact that the first time you complete it, you have a 25% chance of getting caught. Each time you complete this project again with the same organization you're going undercover, the chance of being caught increases by 25%, and the project goal increases by 30%. That's the price you pay when it comes to going undercover. You spend too long in it, and you might blow that damn cover. But then we have honing career skills, which is a way to work on skills from your background and has its own event table. Same with learning from a master. So if you wish to learn skills from a master,
I feel like that might be an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And you can use, if you wish to acquire an ability, that is a project goal of 1,000. You'd learn one signature ability from the master's class, gaining a second signature ability if the master is the same class as you. You can't gain this benefit again for the same class. You can hone an ability, choose between adding +1 across the board to damage bonus to the ability, or improving the distance of a ranged ability by 2. You can only do this once. Or improve control. You can reduce the baseline heroic resource cost by 1 to a minimum of 1. You can only do this once. Acquire ability costs 1,000 project points. Own ability costs 120, and improve control costs 500. You can also learn a new language, learn a new skill, perfect a new recipe. Ignis, is that you? The goal for that is 100. You're choosing a recipe from a specific type of dish. And depending on the type of recipe, that determines the item prerequisite as well as the benefits of it. There are 3 potential benefits. Comforting. When a creature fails a saving throw, they can choose to succeed instead. Then they lose the benefit. Hardy. They increase their recoveries by 1 at the end of the respite. Or supernatural power. The creature temporarily increases one of their characteristic scores by 1 to a max of 6.
Very nice. So so you gain food benefits in this.
Mm-hmm. You can
which is fun. Sorry, go ahead.
You can only benefit from 1 recipe at a time. You can't benefit from more than 1 serving of a recipe at a time, and the benefits are tied to the type of recipe and the item prerequisite.
You were speaking in the middle of your thought, and then you cut out.
Blame Discord for that.
Yeah. Frickin' Discord.
Getcha.
I see the lips moving, but I can't make out the words. I'm deaf!
But when it comes to other projects, ones that don't fit the other categories, we have things like community service, which has its own little table for events, as well as a project goal of 75. Obviously, you have to do it in a settlement or a place where people gather and be in that same place each time you make a project roll for it. We also have fishing, so obligatory fishing minigame.
And why not? Most RPGs do have obligatory fishing minigames.
Yeah.
Man, like, everybody loves those, and I hate them.
It really depends on the game for me.
Yeah.
Except whenever, like, in World of Warcraft, you turn off all the music and you just turn the ambiance up to, like, 11. And that's it. And then you're like, wait, now that's kind of cool. But
And then Amal says...
Same with 14.
Amal
yeah,
says,
you're right.
At least it's not like the FF14 Culinarian, where someone takes a bite and, oops, their clothes fly right off. I don't remember that, but I never played Culinarian.
Oh, but that one's really super fun, though, dude. Like, Culinarian is my jam. Because, like, the sizzles and everything, oh, it's so good.
I did, because I have a character who, I mean, whenever I play, like, an MMO or something, I make little stories for them, and I had a Culinarian as one of them, and that was kind of his thing. Sans the clothes flying off, of course.
Although... I do want to read off the first event. While fishing, the hero reels in a talking fish. The fish informs the hero of any events that have occurred within 10 squares of the body of water where they were caught. over the last week or provides one piece of forbidden knowledge.
Oh god, it's a deep one.
But
The deep one in disguise.
truth be told, the last time that I did a fishing minigame in any of my campaigns, I decided to pander to myself and go with ice fishing. Everybody does river or lake fishing. Nobody does ice fishing. I think in one case we did a deep sea version because around that time while I was writing down notes, I had Deadliest Catch in the background because I needed some kind of background noise at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, then we have Spend Time with Loved Ones as an event.
Because spending time with a family dog is important.
Mm-hmm. When you complete this project, your stamina maximum increases by 12 plus your level until the end of your next respite, and you can't start another Spend Time with Loved Ones project for a month.
Oh, that's lame.
Well, it makes sense. You're supposed to be a heroic adventurer, so...
Fair.
Before we get into rewards, what do you guys think of the Downtime project system now that we have an understanding of it?
I enjoy it.
As a former culinarian, I love the perfect new recipe.
I enjoy a lot of it, mainly because like I ran a campaign where we literally were like I had to try to figure out ways for characters to do like 35 to 40 days of downtime because they were flying over in a flying castle, which was a lot faster than going over the ground, granted, but like I'm like either A, I'm doing downtime stuff, or B, I'm just like, okay, now you're there and it's been like 30 days. So, like, as someone who's had to figure out a whole bunch of downtime things, it's really nice to have them all just kind of just sitting there, you know?
Hmm. I think the only thing that could make this sort of thing better is some sort of guideline for custom projects. But that's really it. I mean, yeah, you could use the existing ones as baseline, but I feel like that's a bandage. I'd imagine if we get some future supplements that are more world specific, that there'll be that in there. But I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel with that. But then we have the last part of our Trinity, rewards. I.e., sweet, sweet loot.
Loot!
We can clearly see that the troubadour in the image has his priorities in order. But, on the other hand, we've seen Aladdin, we've seen the Cave of Wonders, we know how this goes.
You have touched the forbidden treasure! God, I haven't thought about that movie in forever.
You know what would be a way I could twist the knife even further? Having you play Genesis Aladdin.
Oh, I love that game, even though it's hard as balls. Best version of Aladdin, in my opinion. This one, which was actually released a year after the Genesis one, was actually pretty easy, even on the hardest skill.
Well, one of them is trying to be an action platformer, and the other is just being a straight platformer.
And two different developers.
There's certainly that. I do wonder if whoever was doing the Genesis one was inspired by the original Prince of Persia, which is also
most likely
its own level of bullshit.
Oh yes, you are not wrong there.
I ended up revisiting that when I played Prince of Persia Classic, and I'm like, they understood the assignment. The problem was they understood the assignment.
Exactly.
But The first kind of rewards that we have are treasures, which can be consumables, self-explanatory there, trinkets, which are described as treasures with supernatural properties that never fade. So your bag of holding, your magic boots, your invisibility cloak, that kind of thing.
Your quiver of ethereal arrows.
Yep. Leveled treasures are ones that become more powerful in the hands of higher level heroes, connecting with their user, building a bond that fuels their supernatural power.
So the event weapons from DFO for specific classes.
And artifacts, which are the big damn magic items. Treasures of legendary power that can change or shape an adventure or even an entire campaign. Now, first off, there's the issue of found, earned, or crafted. The rules account for worlds where the average person, sometimes even the average noble, doesn't have regular access to treasures. Most treasures are found as part of adventures. Heroes can craft their own treasures. We kind of talked about that with Downtime projects. Though I don't think you can craft your own artifacts.
No, I don't think so. I mean, crafting treasures sounds like what Lena did at the beginning of the first season of Slayers, where she was making magical gems to sell for higher profits.
Yeah, which may or may not explode.
Yeah.
But when it comes to figuring out what a treasure does, you can figure that out by examining it for 5 uninterrupted minutes, unless the item description says otherwise. Then we have a sidebar about treasure item prerequisites. Each treasure has an item prerequisite necessary for crafting it. The exact nature of many of the materials used as an item's prerequisite is left nebulous, so the director can more easily work those materials into a campaign. What's a mind spider and how rare is their silk? That's for the director to decide. Now, I do like that they say, when it comes to wearing treasures, that unless the director says otherwise, the items resize themselves to fit the creature using them. If only I could have that kind of convenience when it came to clothes shopping myself. But wearable treasures have keywords to indicate what part of the body they're meant to adorn. So your magic item slots. And of course, some may come as a set. And if that's the case, all items in the set have to be worn to get the benefits.
None of this partial set bullshit like DFO has.
Now, when it comes to wielding treasures, some of them might be in the form of weapons or implements. Basically, in order for it to be qualified, you just have to have a matching keyword. To get the benefits of a weapon or armor treasure, the treasure must have keywords that match the equipment of your kit. For example, if you're using the Warrior Priest kit, you can benefit from wearing a heavy armor treasure and wearing light weapon treasures, since those are part of that kit. If you don't use a kit, you can gain benefits from using armor, or you can't gain benefits from using armor or weapon treasures unless you have a feature that says otherwise, such as the Conduit's Prayer of Soldiers skill. A weapon damage bonus only adds to melee abilities if your kit has a melee damage bonus. A weapon's damage bonus only adds to ranged abilities if your kit has a ranged damage bonus. So you can't just use any old, unless you have something that says otherwise, you can't just use any old weapon or armor that happens to be magical. Now, the magic and psionic keywords for treasures refer to how those treasures are created, not how they are used. Just as magic potions and swords are not limited only to characters who wield magic themselves, magic and psionic as keywords don't limit the use of treasures to only certain types of characters. So that an implement with the magic keyword can be used to enhance abilities with the psionic keyword, or vice versa. Treasures that don't have the magic or psionic keyword and are used to enhance an ability don't add those keywords to the ability. Which is a nice touch. So you can have some potential intersect between between magic and psychics.
Now I'm just wondering if the risks and rewards come with those as well, or if that's strictly a table decision.
I'd say it's probably a table decision. But
makes sense to me.
The first type of magic item they get into is consumables. And it looks like magic items are going to be divided between echelons.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we have a black ash dart, a blood essence vial. I like that we have a nice little collection of art for them, especially the scroll of resurrection there. That is very nice.
That's very highly detailed. I like that.
I like the artwork in general in this thing.
Yep. And there's quite a few of them. Each one has a item prerequisite, a project source, a project role characteristic, and goal. So if you want to make these consumables, now you know how. Then a few for second echelon, then third. Gallows' visiting card. Which, a card bearing the 8th City Advocacy Services crest smells faintly of smoke and spices. As a magic keyword, requires 1 vial of Archdevil's blood, an expired contract as well. Source is Texter Lauren Anjali. Uses reason or intuition for its characteristic and a goal of 180. The effect is whenever you take damage, you can use a triggered action to tear the card and summon a devil. You avoid the damage and any accompanying effects, and the devil redirects the triggering effect to a target of their choice anywhere in the same manifold. You are treated to a clear vision of whoever suffers the damage. The devil then disappears. A particularly asshole-ish GM could have the target of that be one of your allies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also reminded of the story of the box. If you're familiar with, that was made into a movie a few years back, but I mostly know it as an episode of The Twilight Zone. A couple down on their luck ends up being visited by a disfigured-looking man who offers a box with 1 button in it, saying, "If you press the button, you'll be given $10,000. But someone you don't know will die."
Oh, right. This. I was like, this is sounding super familiar.
There have been different endings of it. One of them is that after a lot of arguing, they finally press the button. They're given the money and are told, "Rest assured, you won't know who has the box next." The other version was that the man pressed the box and his wife shortly afterwards got hit by a train. With the man saying,
"Final Destination."
Yeah, with the man saying, "I guess you didn't know your wife that well."
That's kind of fucked.
The one I saw was, I don't think it was a Final Destination. Wow, because that is Final Destination shit. But the one I saw was like they pressed the button. They were like arguing about it for a while, and they pressed the button, and it was like whoever they pressed the button on, like the guy took the box, and I guess whoever pressed the button next, like one of the characters died.
Yeah, it was originally a short story, then got adapted to an episode of The Twilight Zone twice, for both the original version and the version in the 70s. But then we have trinkets, which which as mentioned, are magic items that can be used at will without a cost of potency. And like with consumables, they are organized by echelon. We have different color cloaks for one, which I'll look at the yellow color cloak for as an example. When worn, a yellow color cloak grants you lightning immunity equal to your level. Not bad. Additionally, when you are targeted by an effect that deals lightning damage, you can use a triggered action to cause the next damage dealing ability you use to deal extra lightning damage equal to your level. Once you deal this extra damage, the lightning immunity becomes lightning weakness with the same value until the end of the next round. You can't use this triggered action until this weakness ends. That is an interesting way to weaponize a lightning resistant cloak.
Mm-hmm. It's like using Reflect in Final Fantasy. If you bounce it off yourself, it'll hit something else.
Mm-hmm.
I like the King's Roar shield, though. That's pretty cool.
Let me see.
It's down a little ways. I'm looking for the thing itself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait.
Oh, those are treasures. Excuse me.
Fun fact, if you pick
Unless...
the amnesia complication, you get to pick for some trinkets.
Oh.
Although I do like the stop-and-go coin. As a maneuver, you can toss the coin in the air and let it fall to the ground in front of you. Roll a d3 to determine the coin's effect, depending on which face it shows when it lands. 1. Red. The area within 2 squares of you is difficult terrain for enemies until the end of your next turn. 2 is green. You and each ally who starts their turn within 2 squares of you gets a +1 bonus to speed until the end of your next turn. Or 3. Spinning coin. Both the red and green effects occur while the coin continuously spins. Throw a coin enough times and it may land on its edge.
Oh, shit.
But we also have the Side Blade, which is totally not a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a bracer that lets you project a blade of energy.
You know what this scene reminds me of? That scene in Return of the Jedi. See? It's totally a lightsaber.
While wearing this metallic band, you can use the maneuver to project a glowing blade of rippling psychic energy that extends parallel to your arm. While the blade is active, you can use a maneuver once per turn to make a melee weapon free strike that deals an extra 3 psychic damage. And it's Raziel's version of the Soul Reaver.
I was thinking the Saucer Blade from Dragon Ball Z that Cooler uses.
Mm-hmm.
Or that Zamos uses.
Yep. But then we have leveled treasures. These are ones that can be used at will, much like trinkets, but they become more powerful as you gain new levels. Each one has a benefit that you get at 1st, 5th, and 9th levels. You can use the benefit until you can't use its benefit until you achieve the appropriate benefits level. Leveled benefits are cumulative.
Like I said, I like that King's Roar shield.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And your connection with leveled treasures doesn't just make them useful, it also makes them dangerous. Each level treasure is a quasi-sentient, purpose-driven entity. A magic sword wishes to be used in combat. A psionic implement wishes to unleash its powerful magic. As such, a creature can safely carry a maximum of 3 leveled treasures at a time. If you carry more, those items become jealous of one another and fight for your attention, attempting to subconsciously influence you into using them, and leaving your other items behind. It's fine to own or possess more than 3 leveled treasures as long as the extras are stored away or in the possession of other creatures. But if you carry more than 3, you must make a presence test during each respite. At Tier 1,
God.
one of your leveled treasures, chosen by the director, grabs hold of your psyche, forces you to sleepwalk or otherwise enter an active fugue state, and discard the rest of your leveled treasures in locations you can't remember. If you want those items back, you better get looking before someone else finds them. Tier 2. Your items work together to prevent you from moving until you pick 3 items and leave the rest behind. Tier 3. Nothing happens.
That sounds amusing and scary at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the pink plate. Like, we had this cursed plate that we painted pink, and it was like the ridiculousness of it was it wasn't anything specifically like that, but it was like if there was anything else, it would have basically turned into that.
Yep. Oh, and here's King's Roar. A sunmetal kite shield bears the face of a lion on its front, its mouth opening wider over the course of battle. It's got a project goal of 450. So at first level, while you wield or carry the shield, you get a +3 bonus to stamina. This adds to the stamina bonus granted by other treasures. Additionally, you can use a maneuver to make the shield's lion face roar, choosing one adjacent creature or object and pushing that target up to 3 squares. At 5th level, the stamina bonus goes up to +6. When you cause the shield to roar, you target 1 creature or object within 3 squares and push it up to 4 squares. And at 9th level, the shield stamina bonus increases to +9. When you cause the shield to roar, you target 1 creature or object within 6 squares. You push the target up to 5 squares, and the target is slowed until the end of their next turn.
So not only do you get an awesome shield, you get a free use of the beast technique.
Mm-hmm. So I can see why you can only have 3 leveled ones before things start getting interesting.
Yeah, because they're pretty powerful in their own right.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are leveled treasures for implements, just as well as anything else, as well as weapons. Okay, this one I have to look at. Blade of the Luxurious Fop. Despite sporting an outrageously ornate hilt adorned with far too many jewels, this blade remains perfectly balanced. The prerequisites are a personal blessing from the greatest duelist in the land, and 6 fake and extremely shiny gemstones.
I'm sure anybody could craft those.
So, first level, any weapon or ability that deals rolled damage using this weapon gains a +1 damage bonus. Additionally, whenever you deal rolled damage with this weapon, you immediately shift 1 square. As well, while you wield or carry the weapon and are present at a negotiation, if an NPC in the negotiation has the greed, legacy, power, or revelry motivation, their starting interest increases by 1 to a maximum of 5. At 5th level, the damage bonus goes to +2, and when you make an opportunity attack against an enemy of your size or smaller, you can use fancy footwork to knock them prone. You also get 1 renown. At 9th level, the damage bonus increases to +3, and you have a double edge on any test you make using a skill you have from the interpersonal skill group. I feel like this particular weapon treasure is tailor-made for a troubadour.
Why am I reminded of the Garnet Gladiator from Final Fantasy XIV early in the Gladiator quest line?
The world
I
may
will
never
take
know.
that blade. I will take the blade. We'd be fine.
Also, I look at the Thunderhead Bident and hello, Lance of Longinus from Evangelion.
I just love that blade of quintessence. It makes me smile.
think that was in one of the early previews. And then we have some other types of leveled treasures. So these are things that don't fit weapon, armor, or implement. Including the blade. But then we get to artifacts. These are powerful treasures with entire campaigns to be built around finding, using, hiding, protecting, or destroying one. Make no mistake, these items unbalance the game. If the heroes or villains have access to such a treasure, their power is far beyond what the encounter building guidelines and monsters expect. That's part of the fun. I think we can look at the first one, which is the Blade of 1,000 Years.
Which looks really fucking cool.
Does it have any relation to the Sword of 10,000 Truths?
Wait, we're not supposed to speak of that sword!
There is a sword
sword
that
looks
exists
super
outside
cool.
of time and space. It is always where it needs to be, precisely when it needs to be there. Then it's gone in a flash when its need has waned.
Oh god, it's Gandalf.
Oh.
He arrives precisely on time.
Mm-hmm. So its effects are suited for victory. The sword takes on the size, shape, and make that the wielder wills into it. It can be a light, medium, or heavy weapon, and you can change its weapon type and appearance as a free maneuver. Any weapon ability that deals rolled damage using the Blade of 1,000 Years gains a +5 damage bonus, and that ability always deals holy damage. Any creature with weakness to holy damage who takes damage from this weapon is also frightened and weakened until the end of their next turn. They weren't kidding about artifacts being busted. Rally the Righteous. The blade fills all around it with hope and courage. Each ally within 1 mile of the weapon, 1 mile, gains an edge on weapon abilities and magic abilities and has damage immunity 5. Additionally, each such creature's stamina maximum increases by 15, and they gain a +15 bonus on stamina when this ability first affects them.
Good lord, I can see this sword being a blessing and a curse for a campaign world.
See, then we have Turn the Tide. Each enemy minion within 1 mile of the sword is dazed. Any enemy leader or solo creature in that area takes a Bane on ability rolls. We have Victory's Assurance. The weapon always appears on the eve before what will later come to be known as a historic battle. It disappears after 24 hours or when the battle is won, whichever comes first. By taking the blade, the wielder unwittingly enters into a pact with the weapon. If they don't secure victory against monumental odds or some great foe by the time the sword disappears, they are pulled into the sword, preventing any chance of resurrection, and forever dooming them to lend their strength to the heroes of other ages. Damn. And Soul of the Martyr. If the wielder dies while holding this blade, their soul is drawn into the straight hilt, where it remains for the rest of time to prevent any chance of resurrection. The sword disappears, but the lingering feeling of hope that spreads from it remains. For the next hour, the effects of Rally the Righteous increase to provide a double edge on weapon abilities and magic abilities, damage immunity 10, an increase to stamina maximum of 30, and a bonus to stamina of 30. And that's the first one. They were not kidding about these things being busted.
Like I said, the Blade of 1,000 Years I can see as being both a blessing and a curse for a campaign world.
I'm reminded of how the Summer Sword in Lone Wolf is treated like a portable nuke.
Like, everybody dead. I like that.
Yep. But another potential reward is titles. Titles are special benefits earned by heroes through adventure and mighty deeds. Heroes must win titles, sometimes individually, sometimes as a group, by accomplishing heroic tasks. Titles are the record of a hero's accomplishments, forming the basis of stories told of them in taverns or whispered in the halls of the mighty. Each title comes with a new ability or other special benefit. By earning titles, heroes gain a unique set of capabilities that sets them apart from other adventurers. So first off, titles have to be won. Each one has a unique requirement, so earning that title might mean your character has to defeat a specific monster, research dangerous lore, or in the case of the Monarch title, win a kingdom. They aren't given out on a schedule, instead they're granted one when a deed is performed that's worthy of it. And when it comes to echelons, each title is assigned an echelon of play where it is most likely to be earned. For instance, knighthood is something that can be typically earned by second echelon, but becoming a monarch usually can only be achieved at fourth. But that's just a suggestion, clearly. And while we have some ready-to-use titles, there's encouragement of creating your own custom titles specific to player accomplishments. And as far as how many, they don't have a hard and fast how many, but gaining too many titles all at once can make for a complicated hero. In general, one title per echelon, though that's at director discretion. Which
I was about to say, if it were me, I'd only probably allow one equipped at a time. If they do happen to earn multiple.
But what instantly comes to mind is, I know I've made this joke before, but imagine at 10th level somebody has the titles on the level of Cetra.
I think you're referring to Doomed. Or, seeing a meteor, crashing into the earth.
Mm-hmm. No. But you've probably seen that meme of the many, 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 many titles of Cetra the Imperishable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to read off the full thing because that would take a bit, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
But let's see, for example, with first echelon, we have an example title of Battle Axe Diplomat.
Aggressive negotiations. My favorite.
Prerequisite, you gain the friendship or alliance of a creature you once battled. You choose one of the following benefits. Either Iron Hand in the Velvet Glove, the first time during a negotiation that you make a test using the Intimidate skill and don't make an argument that appeals to a motivation, you don't lower the NPC's patience or interest no matter the outcome. Truce, you have a double edge on tests made to stop combat and start a negotiation. Or Warrior's Understanding, you gain an edge on presence tests made to interact with creatures you have fought against in combat encounters.
I immediately think of Armstrong and Sig in Full Metal Alchemist just flexing on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Let's see, then we have, for example, local hero. No, Joe Hendry, you sit down. We're not talking about you. Which you get it by saving a community from certain destruction. The benefits that you can get is either easy marks. You have an edge on tests made using skills from the interpersonal and intrigue skill group when influencing members of a community you have saved. Local fame, you earn 1 renown. Or a new dawn, each time you finish a respite while in a community you have saved, the party gets a hero token. This token disappears at the end of your next respite if it hasn't been used. But there's quite a few of these. Ship captain is one of them for those who want to take that approach. Although I do love the flavor text for Zombie Slayer. Why won't you die? You've already done it once. You should be good at it by now.
You are only superior in one respect. You
What
are
is
better
that?
at dying.
Ah, yes, the Daleks, the biggest haters in the universe. And we have the second echelon titles. And that is where we have Knight, if you want to go with that one, which some of the potential rewards you can get from certain titles gives you new abilities you can use. Also, I love the flavor text for Sworn Hunter. I will follow you to the ends of the earth, just so I can kick you off the ledge.
Ah, so he's the warlord in For Honor.
I'll take the Master Librarian.
Hey, that's my shtick.
And then we have some of the third echelon titles, including Noble. Technically, I'm called Lord Morninghill these days. I did a little favor for Duke Kenway at the Battle of Black Forest. And the features you can get are either I know how to talk to these people. You gain an edge on presence tests made to interact with royals, nobles, and their feudal followers, provided they are aware of your noble rank. Noble Splendor, you gain +1 renown and +1 wealth. Or Retinue, the number of follows you can recruit increases by 2. Some of the titles are clearly along a kind of path. But having the titles is a nice way to give people a reward beyond just leveling, or giving them a Monty Hall. But there is also Renown, which, as we mentioned before, Renown can influence negotiation. You can get it through some perks, some downtime projects, and some titles. As a baseline, you can earn 1 renown per level. Some campaigns you might earn more of that. As far as what renown can get you, well, for one, can get you followers. The more renown you have, the more followers you can recruit. So every 3 points of renown, you can recruit 1 follower. Followers may stay at a stronghold, which is a home base you can designate and can change. And the follower types are artisans, retainers, and sages. So artisans are crafting experts, and they can help out with research and crafting projects. They contribute 1 project role per day on a downtime project you choose, whether you spend those days in respite, adventuring, or other activities, but they have to be at your stronghold. A retainer is a heroic NPC that goes alongside you, so your hireling approach, but you don't have to keep paying them. You can only have 1 retainer in your service at a time unless the director says otherwise. A director may also decide that a large party can only have 1 retainer in total. And we will get to retainers in detail next week when we cover monsters. Or Sage, which are like artisans, but instead they work on research and crafting projects. But they're more there for the lore skill group instead of the crafting skill group. But you can also get wealth, and I like that they're not counting every individual piece of wealth, which that was a point. I remember that being a point of contention with some of the early comments with Legend Edition, with people going, can you do a traditional guild setup? And I stood firm on that, on not doing that. Because if I'm going to go with that approach, I need a stronger reason than other people are doing it. But with Draw Steel, it's clear that wealth is an abstracted form of currency. And your wealth score determines what kind of things are affordable. You start with a wealth score of 1. It can be increased by your choice of career, and when you get a lot of treasure, such as raiding a dragon's hoard.
So kind of like Arabian Nights, where the more wealth you have, the more like spaces you can move on the board and such.
In general, you should get 1 wealth every 2nd level. If you try and make a purchase above your wealth score, optionally, you can reduce your wealth by 1. Let's see. A score of 1 is things like mundane, clothing and equipment, a stay at a common inn, passage on a boat, versus a wealth score of 6, which is you purchasing a castle or a shipyard. Between the two, I think I'd go with the shipyard. And that more or less covers everything that I planned on covering when it comes to Book 1 Heroes. So when it comes to the different reward systems, what did you guys think of it?
I liked it. It's not something I see a whole lot of. I especially like the titles.
Mm-hmm.
I like the titles.
But like I said, I mean, even if my players were to earn more than 1, I'd say, hey, only have the benefits of 1 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. I will note there is one title that allows people who normally don't get access to kits to get access to kits. So you could have a null who's using sword and board or something like that.
So not only could you smack their soul out of their body with their hammer, you can come down and just pop them in the brain right afterwards.
Yep. Almost literally doing the line of, I will punch you in the fucking soul. But I appreciate that you have ways to essentially flesh out the legend that your character is making. And Draw Steel is very much putting its foot down that your characters are larger than life figures that become legends. Like by the end of a campaign, there should be stories told about you. Is the vibe that I get out of this. And I think especially through titles, renown, and to a lesser extent wealth. Not that wealth isn't important, but especially with those, you have that kind of setup. It reminds me of what Adventurer Conqueror King system was going for as well. It is, you start as a common adventurer, you get some renown to the point where you start getting followers, and eventually you get land. Or get some kind of holding. This isn't going about it the same way, but the direction is similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say when it comes to the 3 setups we've had, maybe it's in a later chapter, but a bit of advice on creating custom titles or custom projects could be something to consider. Um, but that's the worst I can think of as far as any sort of critique.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to cover the deities because mostly because there's not a whole lot of crunch to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice as we can see here, but
They're more flavor, I think.
mm-hmm. I do
And
appreciate their presence, though.
Definitely. Especially because, while they might exist, they may not always be present.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when dealing with certain campaigns.
Though, if your party has a conduit, it's best to give that section a once-over.
You little boy.
And there is a bit of advice on running respites in the director section, as well as things like montage tests. And I do like that they put a specific section just about house rules. Just saying, if you feel like changing something, then do it. Somehow that's a controversial statement sometimes.
Huh. I've never heard that statement at all, anywhere, ever.
Or that one Jeffro person who seems to think that Rule 0 is bad design.
Yeah, but who the hell is that guy?
Well, if you can't remember him, he must have not been important.
Probably because he wasn't.
But overall, when it comes to the Heroes book, there hasn't been much in the way of things I didn't like within this book.
Oh yeah, this book was a big banger. I mean, I had heard things about the MCDM RPG, but actually getting to take a look at it and really see what's in it it kind of blew my mind. Like I said, it is absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is a dense book, but given the options available, it kind of had to be. And we will be returning to Draw Steel one final time next week as we take a brief look at the Monsters book. And obviously, since that is largely a monster manual, we're not going to be looking at the individual monsters.
Of course not. More the minion leader and solo setups, I would assume.
Also, the way Malice works. Because that was something that was referenced several times as we went through it, so I think we should look at that as well. And I did single that out when I was outlining this.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, that is going to do it for the Valley tonight. I will be back with an interview with Ben Edwards tomorrow. I know that wasn't in the schedule. It was something that was added mere minutes after I posted the schedule.
Oh wow.
There's also been a couple things that may make me re-examine the plans for not for next season, because I can assure you of this: next season we are very much returning to the wonderful world of Japanese tabletop.
Woo!
Especially since by the time we get to that next season, I will no longer be under embargo.
Good stuff.
So keep an eye out for that. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
See you on the trail.
物